Good evening and welcome to Thursday night's The State of Scottish Football, presented to you by A State of Mind. We are sponsored by Etiv Watches. Go and check out the fantastic content there. There's some excellent designer watches for you to wear wherever your occasion. I am back once again to present another episode of the show. I'm Dr. Grant Campbell, for those of you who do not know me. And I'm joined once again by two fabulous gentlemen. To my right, he was on the show last night, and he once again joins me again. It's everyone's favourite reporter, David Smith.
Very good evening. Good evening, Grant. Good evening, Jake. I hope you're well.
And on the bottom, we have a new addition making his debut tonight on the State of Scottish Football. It's everyone's favourite par, Jake Gray. Jake, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Good to see you.
It's great to have you on, and it's great to have David, a familiar face, on as well. And gentlemen, so many talking points tonight, and we're going to talk about a major incident, as you can see there on the bottom, with Ryan Porteous online abuse in just a moment. But for those of you who are following us, you can catch us on Facebook, you can catch us on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you follow us. Just give us a like, give us a subscribe, and you can join us every weeknight from 6 till 7, wherever you follow us. But as I said, there on the bottom, big talking point just coming in, just breaking news. Actually, a report coming out on the BBC Sport website presented by Brian McLaughlin about Hibs defender Ryan Porteous being subjected to online abuse after his red card against Rangers. Shocking news to hear. And Jake, I'm going to come to you first on this. This is not a good look yet again, not just for Scottish football, but just football in general.
Yeah, I mean, there's just far too much of it now. It seems to be a talking point every single week. And as you say, it's just not acceptable. It's not a good look specifically for Scottish football. But as you said, as football as a whole, and yeah, as I said, there's just far too much of it. You know, it's sectarian abuse, homophobic abuse, racial abuse, and there's just totally no place for it.
No, absolutely. And David, you know, Ryan Porteous was, of course, sent off in that match against Rangers before the international break. And obviously there was a lot of talking points about that. But regardless of the incident itself, the aftermath after this, there's just no need, is there?
No need at all, no. I mean, the game's gone when you're getting subjected to online abuse, as far as I'm concerned. Because I mean, what these players should be entitled to do is go and play their games of football in the weekend and go and train during the week like MD would. I mean, if you were to go and go into an office and go and abuse an office worker, with customer service, you get absolutely ridiculed by the office staff and been told to go and never to be seen again. Yet it seems to be unacceptable. But it seems to be acceptable. Behind the keyboard when it comes to football, which I don't find great. It's unacceptable to say the least. And this is another shocking state in incidents that have happened in the last few weeks. Obviously, we've had the Fuchs situation. We'll obviously get on to it. Ross County have said that nothing. There was no clear evidence. But back on the original point regarding Porteous, and yeah, it was a strong challenge. I mean, it was a red card technically, according to the letter of the law. But when you look at it from an overall point of view, we really should be targeting players for online abuse. I'm assuming I wasn't part of the press conference. I went to where Jack Donnelly was, our fellow contributor on this show. If I knew that this had occurred, I would love to have gotten his opinion on it, to be honest, because I'm assuming it was a very heavy-hearted press conference with Jack Ross this afternoon, just in terms of what he had to say. If footballers are going to football and participating in these games at the elite level, such as the Premiership, and getting subject to online abuse in the aftermath of such incidents that was seen 11 days ago, 11 days ago, then the game's gone as far as I'm concerned, because if that wouldn't have happened 15 years ago, there'd have been tackles far, far worse than what Porteous did.
Well, I've got some quotes from that discussion with Brian McLaughlin that Jack Ross gave. We have to separate what happened on the pitch. It was a tackle, and there are lots of different opinions on how bad it was. Was it a good tackle or a red card? It's done. It's human nature when anyone receives that type of abuse. It does shake them a bit. But hopefully the support we have given him has helped him come through the other side of it. Jake, got to come out of this and just ask you, and people who are tuning in can give us their thoughts on this as well. What should be done to protect Scottish footballers following the Porteous online abuse? Because it just seems to be happening time and time again. And this is just, as we said earlier on, another incident in a long line of previous incidences.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said before, there's clearly no place for it. In terms of what has to be done, these people, if they're able to be found, they have to be banned from football stadiums. I know it's online abuse, but people, social media networking sites need to be doing more to stop these people getting to go online and abuse people after a football match or after anything. But at the minute we're talking about football, and it's just not acceptable, and there's no place for it. People need to be banned if they're caught, which hopefully they will be able to.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time, David, for the club as well, but also for the player himself. I mean, we've seen a lot of footballers now have been putting the protected lock side on Twitter accounts. Is that something that you think that more players need to do more and more, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, social media is a massive part of everybody's life, not just in football, but it's general society as well. And when you look at it, we are in an online media world now. Very seldom when you go into a pub, for example, and get an everyday discussion, you can get all the information, whether it's football or indeed society stuff, on your phones and indeed on the internet. So there's that side of things. And as for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever have you, there's a lot of media management now. There's a lot of media training that goes along with being part of a football club. I mean, I understand it thoroughly. I mean, I was at the Dundee United. I'll give you an example here. I was at the Dundee United press on the day, and Tam Courts, after the Jandal Fuchs incident 12 days ago, was given a bit of media training by the media officer at Dundee United before he spoke to us today, which just tells you everything you need to know. It's not just players that'll get media trained, it's managers as well. Excuse me. That's the thing. A lot of these players will be under scrutiny from the public, not just football fans and football people in general. They'll be under the scrutiny from the public as a whole. And there needs to be a lot more intensity with regards to online management, both from a football point of view and indeed a society point of view. If clubs can do an extra 10% to help that, it'll go a long way to helping the current predicament that we're in with regards to online abuse, online hatred. Because I mean, as I alluded to in my previous question there, in my previous answer, sorry, it was a late challenge. It was a rash challenge on the Rangers player.
Joe Aribo it was, I think. Yeah.
Joe Aribo, thank you very much, Kirk. My brain froze there. Yeah, it was a rash challenge on Joe Aribo. Nothing else, right? We've seen, I mean, if you go back to 1992, right? It's very harsh for me to go and say this. 1992, Man United v Arsenal. Do you really think Nigel Winterburns going to get online criticism for stuff he says or stuff he did in 1992? Very few and far between. So why does that happen in 2021 when Ryan Porteous' challenges 100 times worse than what happened in that Man U Arsenal game? I'm just giving everybody a prime example.
No, I think it's an interesting point. It comes nicely to what the next question I was actually going to ask Jake, because obviously a lot of people now are looking at analysis of games. I know Sports Scene really took great forensic analysis on the incident itself, and Jack Ross kind of came out and said that he says, I can't say for definite the language used by some who had given an opinion on what happened on the pitch, but I certainly didn't think it helped things, particularly when we are highlighting abuse through mediums like social media. Do you think maybe that's a little bit of a smokescreen, or do you think he has a little bit of a point with that?
No, I think he does have a point, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, things like this happening, the challenge is done. Hibs have appealed that, their appeal hasn't gone through.
Exactly.
It just shouldn't be happening. So, yeah, I get his point entirely, to be honest with that one. And, I don't know how many times people like us are going to have to discuss things like this on podcasts and on television. So, yeah, I really, really understand his point there.
Yeah, it's extremely frustrating, David. I mean, we're seeing incidences like this. You mentioned Jandro Fuchs there not too long ago as well, and it just paints a really dark picture for Scottish football. What is already looking like being an exciting season on the pitch, this is certainly marring it often.
To get an end conclusion to this, Scott, I hate bringing up previous incidents, but if you don't mind, we've had Kyogo Furuhashi, we've had Marvin Bartley, Fuchs,
of course,
Porteous. I'll try and get another one just to make it 5 aside. No, we'll stick with 4. That's 4 major incidents in 8 weeks, and it just can't continue. Now, the big $100 million question is, how does it stop? Well, the $1 million question on the online side of things, first and foremost, is to have a bit more security on the online side of things. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned. And we've seen this just in general society, not just football society. The online companies such as your Facebooks, your Twitters, your Instagrams, whatever have you.
They've got to be doing more, haven't they? I mean,
Well,
they've been
exactly.
protecting people,
They don't do
especially in
enough.
higher society.
As
A
far
lot
as I'm
more than they are
concerned, they
doing.
don't do enough. As far as I'm concerned, they don't do enough. And this is why the repercussions for these football players and football people in general are getting solidified upon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there has to be a big educational aspect being introduced here. But if you've got governing bodies like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram kind of almost sort of sweeping it under the carpet in some respects, it's not a good look, Jake.
No, absolutely not. And as we've said before, there has to be a way that they can do more to help stop online abuse. You know, the amounts of money that these social media sites must make, there has to be ways in which they can, they can do something to stop it. As we spoke about before, footballers maybe should be making their accounts private, but then the question is, why should they have to do that if they don't want to? So, yeah,
it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because they're wanting to try and kind of connect with the fans as well, aren't they? Yeah, exactly. They're trying to have that balance there. But at the same time, do you not think that maybe people who are on social media maybe have to have their accounts verified by maybe a fingerprint or some form of identification like that? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's something I've spoke about before. I think there has to be a way to verify people's accounts to make sure that they're not going to be someone who's going to do this kind of abuse or like hiding behind a fake account, a fake name, a fake picture, because guaranteed these people wouldn't, they wouldn't continue with the same abuse if they had their own picture and their own name behind their account. It would be almost the same as giving someone abuse in person, which guaranteed they would not do. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, David, Porteous is banned for the next 2 matches against Dundee United and Aberdeen. He must be feeling pretty down and despondent over the incident against Rangers, and this is going to magnify things. And it's going to be interesting to see how his mental health and his support out of this kind of kicks on for him. And this is where I think now Hibs as a club have to help support their player through this.
100%. I think he will get the love as players because football clubs are 99% of football clubs in this country are probably family-orientated football clubs. Let's say family-orientated. I mean family-orientated in the sense of the bubble in which the playing bubble will go around to support their player. I mean, a lot of Dundee United stuff from today, because I was at the press conferences in Bargoed, but Tam Court's made the point to us today that Jandro Fuchs has had the support of Dundee United players ever since that incident a few weeks back. Porteous will get the same thing from Hibs. I mean, there'll be warnings in there. The mental health has to take full priority here. I mean, it's not as though Porteous has done anything wrong. It was a rash challenge, and that's the full stop here. That it's not like he's went out and done an Eric Cantona on a player. Just to give you a prime example, what he's went and done is he's had a rash challenge at Joe Aribo, got as much orders for it. Yes, there's maybe a question that saying he's not learned from his previous circumstances, his previous misdemeanors in terms of the challenges that he's had, especially against games against Rangers in the past. But also there's another side to this in terms of the mental health, because the mental health is important. I mean, he's suspended for 2 games against Aberdeen and United. What if he comes back into that game against Celtic and has a pitiful game? More we go, Porteous this, Porteous that, Porteous hasn't learned, we're all picking on Porteous. And that's the thing. There needs to be a consistency from the general public, and I count ourselves and everybody else in that when I say general public, because when you mention general public, we've all got a part to play in terms of online abuse and what we can do to help that. And we were making a point about Gilmore last night in this show in terms of he didn't have the best of games. And this isn't a similar theme or a comparison theme, but when you look at it and go that, and when somebody's doing something of a negative nature or a mediocre nature, we all pounce on it pretty quickly. Perceive it to be a knee-jerk reaction rather than look at the positive or look at a way forward. Because a lot of these people, especially in football, will reflect these things. And the important thing for Ryan Porteous is to get the love and support around him, but also to reflect on what he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. This story, I'm sure, will run and run. And also, let's hope we don't have any more instances like this throughout the season, although, unfortunately, I suspect there probably will be, because this is just the nature of the beast we're living in football these days. Anyway, tonight's show is a bit of a Championship League One and League Two preview, because we're building up once again to the restart of the domestic scene. Colin Watt, as usual, will be talking on Friday night about the Premiership, and we'll leave him to do that very well, as he often does on Friday's show. But tonight, gentlemen, we're talking about the big games in the Championship, League One and League Two in Scotland. And Jake, there is some really interesting games this weekend. One of them, of course, features the team you support, Dunfermline, who have had a pretty dismal start to life in the Championship this season under Peter Grant. And they take on Kilmarnock this weekend. I mean, that is a really big game if they want to get their season up and running, because it's not been a good start for the Pars.
No, absolutely not. And to say that I enjoyed the international break would be an understatement. So yeah, back to play Kilmarnock this weekend, and I must say I'm fearing the worst, to be honest with you. It's been a terrible start. We've got 2 points on the board, sitting bottom of the league, and the board have came out and backed Peter Grant, which I guess is fair enough. I think they were in a situation where they either had to back him or sack him harshly, but they've came out and backed him, and on the back of that statement, it's kind of been a disconnection between the fans and the club at the minute. It's kind of created that. I don't know if you've seen the statement.
I have seen the statement. I mean, Peter Grant's kind of come up with a bit of a battle cry, hasn't he? He sort of thinks that they could still have a very positive season, but is he maybe having a little bit of wishful thinking there? I mean, 2 points, as you mentioned. What has happened in Dunfermline? Why is it not working for the Pars so far, do you think?
I honestly, I struggle to put my finger on it, to be honest, because when you look at the squad, I feel like, genuinely, I do feel like it is one of the better squads in the league. It's just defensively, towards the start of the season, they were giving away, slack balls, giving up too many chances, and ultimately we're not scoring enough goals. And that has to change really quickly. I suppose what you were referring to was Peter Grant saying he still thinks we can win the league, which, that is wishful thinking.
Do you think it's a baffling statement, Jake? Sorry?
Do
you think it's a baffling statement, that what was printed in the Courier on Tuesday night?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think there's any way we can win the league. We're sitting on 2 points, and I don't know how many points the top of the league are, but it's a big difference.
But I suppose in some ways to look at this, I mean, they're playing against a team this weekend who should be looking to win the Championship this season. If they can get a win, the season is effectively up and going again.
Well, I would like to think so. Hopefully we can get a win. As I said, I can't see it, but yeah, hopefully if we can pull off a win against Kelly, then it'll give the boys a bit of confidence and they'll get going. And hopefully it'll give Grant a bit of confidence as well, because maybe he's lacking at the moment, or I'm sure he is. But yeah, as I said, it's been a bit of a disconnection between the fans and the club at the minute, and hopefully they can turn it around on Saturday and get the fans back on side, because it's not a very good place at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, Kilmarnock, David, don't go into this game in the best of form themselves. They did lose against Wraith before the break. I know they did win that match in the Challenge Cup against Queen's Park, but their form had been a bit erratic. I mean, they were quite fortunate, I felt, to get a point against Arbroath. So Tommy Rightside aren't coming into this in the best of shape. So is there a squeak of a chance for Dunfermline here, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at this from a Kilmarnock point of view, it's a great opportunity for Kilmarnock to go reunite their season to an extent, just because they've had a couple of disappointing results against Arbroath and Wraith Rovers. I mean, Wraith Rovers have slowly turned a corner. I'll be honest, but saying the game I was at. They're in a good run of form, but I watched Wraith Rovers against Park this on. You could tell that they're getting used to their own for stages now. But back on to Kilmarnock, it's a massive game for them at Dunfermline on Saturday, because I mean they aren't exactly the best of run, best of form themselves. And yeah, they got the job done against Queen's Park, but they needed penalties, if I'm not mistaken, to beat Queen's Park. So that just tells you everything you need to know about the confidence in the group at this precise moment in time. They're not exactly big in terms of confidence, and to be honest, they need a big result to go and turn their season around. Well, not turn the season around, but to get their season back on track. Sorry, because Inverness Calais started the season very well, but Inverness have been capable. Well, Inverness have had the odd slip up here and there. They've already got beaten so far this season, and there's also a big game with Rafe and Arbroath at the weekend. So it's an opportunity for 3 points, but also an opportunity for a comprehensive and professional performance, which you can look at from a Kilmarnock point of view and say they're back.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a look at Dunfermline's last 4 games. They drew 0-0 against Inverness and Hamilton at home, and they drew that Wraith game, of course, which of course was delayed because of the floodlight issues. You finished 1-1 there, and then obviously losing to Queen of the South last time out. I mean, just getting that win on the board would help. I mean, full draws, but no wins so far. Just getting that first win would maybe just give Peter Grant a foothold in the job, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. I hope it would. But, at the minute, having watched a lot of Dunfermline's games this season, I just don't see where it's coming from. There's lacking creativity going forward and still a bit shaky at the back. I know there's been a few clean sheets and 0-0 draws there, but we really need to capitalise on turning 0-0 draws into 1-0 wins or getting the 3 points on the board, as you say, because when teams aren't winning games, we all know that the confidence drops and, they need to get that win out of somewhere to try and help them get back on track. And if Dunfermline don't get back on track soon, I'm under no illusion that we could be fighting relegation at the end of the season. I know it's still early days, but we need to get a win and fast.
David's mentioned there about Kilmarnock. What have you made of Kilmarnock this season, Jake? Because obviously you're following Dunfermline, but obviously you'll have half an eye on Killie as well. What have you made of them so far in the championship?
To be honest, towards the start of the season, they've made some impressive signings. They took Ewan Murray and Fraser Murray, who I know quite well from being at Dunfermline last season, obviously. And I think that's 2 good signings. Ewan Murray is solid at the back and Fraser Murray gives him a bit of flair. But to be honest, up front, I think they could strengthen. I haven't been too impressed with them in that position. And I think Kelly fans would probably be hoping for a bit more in the championship so far.
Yeah, I mean, Callum Hendry's come in, David. I mean, do you think he'll be a big player for them during the end of the season?
I think it's the right level for him, if I'm going to put it that way. I mean, in terms of how he got on at Aberdeen, because he was also out more at Aberdeen from St Johnstone, and if it was an Aberdeen side that struggled to go and score goals, but he was that type of player that he isn't exactly a number 9. He's not going to be renowned for scoring goals, but what you will get from Callum Hendry is you'll get a work rate, you'll get a willingness to go win games of football every week, and that's what Kilmarnock need right now. Excuse me. Callum Hendry is that type of player where he's strong in the ball, he'll hold off defenders, and he's a really good number 10 for a fellow number 9. And him and Ollie Shaw has the capabilities of being a really good partnership if they can go get it right. I mean, football nowadays isn't really accustomed to playing the 2 up front. It's usually a 4-5-1, a 4-2-3-1, or whatever you like. But Kilmarnock's got 2 good strikers now, and that can only help their chances moving forward. And most championship teams that will do well usually do well because they've got good strikers or good forward-thinking players.
Yes.
And that's what Kilmarnock have got just now. I mean, you look at Newboy at Arbroath, and that's why Arbroath are doing so well. Newboy's that hunky body about him that allows him to go and do his business and get some goals for Arbroath. And it's the same with Shaw and Hendrick. Kilmarnock, they're not as hunky as Newboy, obviously, but what you do get from the 2 strikers is a bit of physique, a bit of talent, and also a willingness to find the net. So it's a win-win from Kilmarnock.
You must have a poster of Newbley on your wall there, David, because I thought that was a brilliant line you used there. Gentlemen, let's look at the other 4 games in the championship. Hamilton obviously play Partick on Friday night. Ayr play Queen of the South. We've already mentioned Dunfermline Kilmarnock. Morton travel up to the Highlands to take on Inverness. And Arbroath mentioned they're playing Wraith at Stark Spark. I mean, David, what's your kind of main game there? We've talked a lot about Dunfermline and Kilmarnock. Any of those other 4 games that are of interest to you?
Yeah, well, I'm going to pinpoint towards Kirkcaldy. It's 4th against 3rd, so it's the makings of a really good game because, I mean, Arbroath, they want to finish 3rd bottom. There's no getting away from that. I don't want a smack bottom from Dick Campbell, so I'll put that out there. Arbroath.
You'll get a board against your back.
No, absolutely. So Arbroath don't want to finish 4 bottom, and Dick Campbell's done a tremendous job in the Gayfield Park side. I mean,
Yes.
we've got a terrific player there in Newboy, who, let's face it, and Dick Campbell admitted this in the Courier today, that Newboy will probably be back to Livingston in January. I mean, Newboy's part of a Livingston. He's all from a Livingston side that aren't exactly scoring enough goals at this precise moment in time, and are in a relegation fight at the moment. Whilst he's with a club in Arbroath, and he's probably the best striker in the Championship at this precise minute in time. And it's not just about Newboy. Let's get that straight here. It's about Michael McKenna. It's about James Cragen. It's about the defensive-minded players as well. Derek Gaston's a very good goalkeeper. But also, Rafe Rovers will be bolstered by the side of Ethan Ross today. Really good talent. Queen's Park, we're looking for his services, but I'm led to believe the compensation fee was a stumbling block behind that. So, very good acquisition from Rafe Rovers, and John McGlynn's working stellars at Starks Park. I mean, and sorry to say that, Jake. Apologies for that, but Rafe Rovers have the nucleus of a really good side, which starts from Jamie McDonald and works right through to Kel Benedict. And funnily enough, they've actually replaced Regan Hendry in the shape of the central midfield pair that they have, because what Rafe Rovers haven't done is they haven't changed the last season's system too much. Dylan Tate, they still have him. Yeah, he'll be back to Hibs in January, but they've still got him. So that has been a fantastic form. Ross Matthews just came in and done really well for himself. Ethan Varian alone from Stoke City has done really well and scored a few goals as well. And also Christoph Berner, not exactly the best centre-half you'll ever see nowadays, but he's been there, done it, and worn the T-shirt, and he's got all the experience in the world. So Ref have a good side, and they've got a really good philosophy, which has been instilled by John McGlynn over the past few years, which has led to the success that they've had. And this to make it a good game. Two sides that like to get the ball, like to play, and two illustrious managers in John and Dick that know how to play football the right way.
Yeah, that should be a really good game at Kirkcaldy. I mean, Jake, what are the other games have you caught your attention?
Well, the Friday night game tomorrow night, Hamilton versus Partick Thistle. I think, to be fair, Hamilton, when they came to East End Park, they were quite difficult to break down. Obviously, I've seen Partick Thistle this season so far as well, and they absolutely hammered us. I'll be honest, it was 3-0, and I don't think they'll be able to do the same to Hamilton. To be honest, they didn't play amazing when I seen them, but as I said, they were difficult to break down. It'll be interesting to see if Partick Thistle will be able to pull off the same kind of performance against Accies as they did against Dunfermline, and as they're hoping to be, because obviously Partick are hoping to be up at the top end of challenging for promotion. So we'll see if they can pull off some attacking football tomorrow night against Accies. But I was impressed with Hamilton defensively, and I think it'll be a good game. I can't see a lot of goals, but I think it'll be entertaining.
I mean, David, Partick Thistle have got a real chance to pull clear of Queen of the South in sixth. I mean, they're already 3 points clear, but already there's a gap developing between the top five and the bottom five. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think there's a quality difference with that, and I don't mean that due disrespect to the bottom five teams. I mean, you've been looking at Dunfermline and thinking they could do better, but when you look at the bottom five sides in the league, with the exclusion of Queen of the South and the young striker they have, I've forgotten what his name is. You guys might be able to clarify on that. They've got a young striker that's banging in goals. He's out on loan from a club.
For which team?
For Queen of the
South. Queen of the South. Oh, I'm not 100% sure. I could maybe find that out for you while you're talking. Keep going. The top five have that attacking difference about them. Venice Cali have got the likes of Shane Sutherland and other players. Lee Connolly is the guy you're looking for. Lee
Connolly. Is he Queen of South permanent?
Yes, he's there at the moment anyway. I know that much.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of glowing reports about Lee Connolly. They started off really well playing the South, but on to Cali. Cali's got a good nucleus in the team. They've signed Billy Mackay, Michael Gardine, and they've been two really good acquisitions for Cali. And came over to Keswick Bridge from County and done really well for themselves. But not only that, Billy Dodds has transitioned from assistant to being the gaffer himself and done really well. And he's a top lad, Billy. And whenever you hear him, both in terms of the press or the media, or in terms of his game management at the weekend, he seems to be. He obviously knows his stuff, and he's been he's a bit like Carl Davidson in terms of transition. They've both been top number twos, and they went into their number ones and done very well, and not changed much in terms of their number one when they went into their number one roles. I mean, I think this is a big season for Kilmarnock. I think if Kilmarnock don't go up, I'm not going to say any stretch of imaginations by Tommy Wright. But what I would say is it would have serious repercussions for Kilmarnock Football Club, about like what happened with Dundee United over the years, where they tried and huffed.
You get stuck in the league, don't you? I mean, you've seen it down in England in the Championship, like with clubs like Nottingham Forest, Blackburn Rovers, and that. You get stuck there, and you feel like you're not progressing. And if anything, you're in danger of getting usurped down another league.
I call it the Championship bubble. That's exactly what the two Dundee clubs were for a period of time. And Dunfermline was the same a wee while back as well. Dunfermline was a Championship bubble where they were a really good side back in the 2000s era. And then they got stuck in that bubble and then got relegated to League One. I don't like what Falkirk won as well. But back on the original point, and Kilmarnock, this is a big season for Tommy Knight, because if they don't go up, it's going to be a Dundee United situation where there's going to be repercussions to that football club in terms of recruitment, both in terms of internally and externally. And then Arbroath will take care of itself. They're a part-time club, but they don't have a part-time mentality. Let's put that out there. And then Raith Rovers, they just go under the radar. And then Partick Thistle, they'll be looking to go under the radar this season. They've signed a lot of players that are illustrious, have tenacity to get on the ball, have a way of playing, and this will be a transition season back in the Championship for Partick Thistle because of coronavirus. They get relegated very harshly, but looking at this season, they'll be looking at this as an opportunity to just stake a claim, and they've recovered from the Gary Caldwell days. There's no mistake about that. Ian McCall's came in, did a really good job. He obviously did after the best of starts in this recent stint at Firhill Stadium, but he's bounced back perfectly. Did very well after coronavirus to go steer Partick Thistle to League One success with a successful second half of the season, and then took it into this season where they've had some good results. Obviously, slip ups against the likes of
Arbroath
and Arbroath, but got some good wins against Ayr, Morton, and other Dunfermline. And it's actually funny because Partick Thistle have actually been beaten every game in the league against the top four sides, or the top five sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. That's right. No, it's going to be a very interesting Championship weekend, and of course you can follow Hamilton against Partick Thistle on the BBC Scotland channel tomorrow night. That's Friday night, and of course the other four games are on Saturday. Let's move in to League One, because League One has been very, very interesting to keep an eye on so far. 6 points covers the top 8 clubs, and this weekend another full card of fixtures for your delights. Alloa against Peterhead, Clyde Montrose, the Barton at home to Queen's Park, the league leaders, still unbeaten as well, of course. Cove Rangers away to East Fife, and Falkirk against Airdrie Onions. Jake, going to come to you first of all. What game or games catches your eye here in the League One?
I'm looking at Falkirk, to be honest. Another season where they seem to be underachieving. I know they're sitting third now, but a lot of their fans are growing even more frustrated under Sheeran, and Falkirk as a massive club, they're underperforming and they should be in the Championship at least. Airdrie, last season made the playoffs, have a decent side as well, so I think that could be a good game. And I think that Falkirk really need to kickstart their season as well.
Yeah, there's some really interesting games again, David, this weekend. I mean, I'm looking at East Fife Cove. That could be a big game for Darren Young, and if he doesn't win this game or get something out of this game, you really worry for them because they're already 5 points adrift at the bottom.
Yeah, can I start with Falkirk by saying they've got a quality player in their team, and they are underachieving, as Jake said there. I mean, they've got Brad Mackay. He's been with Hearts, been with Inverness, and done very well for himself in his career. Charlie Telfer, been at Dundee United. Paul Dixon, terrific left back in the day. Declan McDade, showed glimpses of what he's capable of at Dundee. He, in my honest opinion, he hasn't had his fair share of luck under James McPake at Dundee. He's had some good games, and then been put in the back burner, and basically been put in the scrap, not put in the scrap heap, but it's basically a Falkirk loan spell that basically goes and tells you do well or you're away. I was waiting to swear this. A good job I didn't swear the live camera there. Aidan Nesbitt, always been a quality player. He was really good at Kilmarnock or Morton, if I'm not mistaken. Ken McGuffey, really good player. You've also got Michael Ruth that's on a loan from Aberdeen. So they've got some good players in there, but it doesn't seem to be clicking. They've also got Sebastian Ross and Paul Shear's got the nucleus of a good team there, but he just needs results. I mean, beating East Fife 2-1, no disrespect to East Fife, but that doesn't seem to be positive. I mean, they've slipped up in game. Well, don't get me wrong, Scottish League One is a very competitive league. Let's put that in there.
Yeah,
it certainly is. They're a full-time team, and they've slipped up against like some Montrose in the past, and they've slipped up against them again recently, and they slipped up against Peterhead, I remember last season, which seemed to turn the tide in terms of that League One title race, because I remember Peterhead beat Falkirk on a Tuesday night, and that eclipsed Falkirk's title bid. It just went, I'm trying to figure the right word here, it kamikazed into...
Oh, they fell off a cliff. They fell off a cliff.
Yes, they fell off a cliff. But on to East Fife, East Fife are one of these sides that are going to be battling relegation, I think, this year. I've seen them firsthand, and they're one of these sides that don't exactly have a lot of household names in their team, and they're going to be one of these sides that will pick out the odd result here and there. I mean, they got a good result against Peterhead, I remember. But then things haven't exactly went well ever since. I mean, they've gained like some full-time Falkirk a really good game, and
they've lost the last 4 games in the League East, Fife.
Yeah,
the 3 of them have been away from home, I must say. But yeah, they've not done particularly well. They've only scored 1 goal as well in that run, and that was in that Falkirk game, as you mentioned.
They've won 1. Sorry, I'm trying to do my homework here. They've won 1, drawn 1, and lost 7. And one of the draw was the 1-1 against Queen's Park. That's probably been the only positive result they've had this season. This Saturday probably is an important game for East Fife against Cove Rangers. A Cove Rangers side that aren't playing well just now, but are getting results. And that must say a lot about this Cove Rangers team, the quality and the talent that they have. That Cove, by all accounts, haven't been playing games of football, but there's 4 straight wins. It's all about getting the results rather than it's like Scotland every night. They weren't exactly brilliant or excellent, but they got the job done, and that's all that matters. And it's the same for Cove. I was at Cove against Albion Rovers last weekend, and Cove never got the width. It looked very compact. The likes of Megginson and McAllister, the way that McIntosh weren't getting opportunities, and the young guy, I'll need to get his name for you, called Ola. Let's get it here. Ola Adeyemo, who used to be the books at Dundee United and UCD in Ireland. He chose the game for Cove Rangers last week. And that's the thing with Cove. The lacking wide players, my honest opinion. But what they do have is they have a lot of forward-thinking players. And that forward-thinking players will be a huge difference in terms of outcome at the weekend with regards to... Because the New Bayview surface and the New Bayview size of the park is very similar to Balmoral. Balmoral's bigger, but it's a 4G surface. And if Cove can get the right system, I think they could go and score a few goals and ultimately bringing a few points back up to South Aberdeen.
Yeah, absolutely. And go, Jake. Go.
No, sorry, I was just saying at the start of the season, I'm sure Cove beat East Fife 5-1.
They did.
It's not 5-2, sorry, and it's not
5-2. Sorry, beg your pardon. 5-2.
It's not the only time East Fife have conceded 5 goals as well. They were beat 5-0 off Dumbarton. They've went out and conceded 3 goals, and as you said, they haven't been scoring a lot at all. So to go off against a Cove side, like as you said, David, they've won all their last 4 matches. I think it's going to be really tough for Darren Young's side, and I think they will be battling relegation this season. It's going to be really tough for them.
There is one game that catches my eye. We haven't talked about it, but they're one of the only 3 unbeaten sides in the whole of Scotland still. Queen's Park, I mean, away to Dumbarton. I mean, Jake, you've seen Dumbarton this season. They took on Dunfermline, I think, in the Premier Sports Cup. What have you made of the job that Stevie Farrell's doing there? Because they're doing particularly well, the Suns.
Yeah, and to be honest, I was quite surprised at how well they're doing. They came to Dunfermline, and I can't really remember the score, but I thought it was Dunfermline 1.
5-1, I think it was.
5-1 when we had, quite a convincing spell in the League Cup, as we usually do at the start of the season. But yeah, fair play to Dumbarton. They've really kicked on in the league, and they're, a few seasons ago they were in the Championship, so they're kind of been a bit of a yo-yo club between Championship and League One, in a sense where, you could, at the start of the season, you could see them being towards the bottom ends of the league, but then kicking on towards the top as well. You wouldn't be surprised either way. So no, I think fair play to them. They've started the season really well.
Yeah, it could be an interesting game, this, David, because they come into it off the back of being thumped by Peterhead 5-0. Colin Byers, a friend of the show, was at the game and said that Peterhead were outstanding. But big opportunity for Queen's Park to really kind of put Dumbarton further in a little bit of the sticky situation that they're in at the moment.
Yeah, but I would also look at Queen's Park by saying they need to end a bit of a rut themselves. Yeah, they've not lost a game this season. You look at the stats, they've won 4 and drawn 5, and that must be a worrying tale for a lot of else's side, because, I mean, Queen's Park, I might be wrong here, I don't think they've got real expectation to go up this year. If they do, then fair enough. And they've got a good structure now. They've obviously been professional, full-time. They've obviously got a lot of data analysis that they go and focus on, and they're playing at a fair help this precise minute in time. There's a lot of good things going on in that club, but the worrying picture from a Queen's Park point of view is they've had that 5 draws. If they didn't have that 5 draws and they turned them draws into wins, Queen's Park would be flying at the top right now. It's probably a sign of where they're at just now. That they're probably an informed team. They're probably a team doing very well, but at the same time, they need to end a lot of topping points, which allows the teams a bit of leeway in terms of catching them up and making sure that there's a title race come the end of the season. But go back at East 5, just very briefly. But it's a worrying picture for Danny Young's side, because, I mean, if you look at the table as a whole, there's only 6 points. Sorry, I'll add that, elaborate on that. 8 points between Queen's Park and Peterhead, whilst East 5 are stuck at the rut with 4 points, which means they need to get a massive result or two somewhere in order to go and reignite their season and rectify their season, most importantly. But back on your point, the Barton are starting the season very well. I mean, the Montrose victory back in August was a real marker for Stevie Farrell's side, and as much as the Peterhead result was disappointing,
that was a game you were at, wasn't it? Montrose Dumbarton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it was. Less said about that goal, about the better, because I'm not a very self-conscious guy. But anyway, in terms of the Barton, they've got a really good side. But Gregor Buchanan's a really good centre half. He's been there, done it. He's done really well with Morton, especially. He's a very commanding centre half, and he's a lovely human being by the sounds of things, and very good looking, according to a certain contributor on this show that I spoke to very recently about this. But they've got a really good team, and Paul Payton offers so much experience to that Barton team. He was actually coached by our ex-Forfar Phantom manager Kevin McGreskin at Dundee United, and Kevin nothing but good things to say about Pates in terms of the way he plays, his game management, and he's continuing that at Dumbarton. It might cost a penny. He can still play full time, but there'll be circumstances that probably suggest that he doesn't play full time just now, such as maybe his job or various other things. But he could probably do a job at a both. He's still that good despite his age. I might be wrong, 34.
He's evergreen, isn't he? And there's that's a really good point. And we haven't even talked about Alloa, Peterhead, and Clyde Montrose, but it was always very interesting games in League One, and we'll keep you abreast of it here, of course, on the state of Scottish football. We must press on because we haven't got long left. We only have 50 minutes or so left. And let's move into League Two, because there's some really exciting games again in League Two this weekend. Starting on Friday night, Edinburgh City against the league leaders and one of the other two unbeaten teams in Scottish football, Kelty Hearts. I mean, that could be a really interesting game. Albion Rovers are at home to Elgin City. Cowdenbeath host Stenishmuir. Annan travel to Station Park to take on Forfar Athletic, while Stirling host Stranraer. Jake, I mean, I personally like the look of the Friday night game, because Edinburgh City have had a little bit of a resurgence of late, but Kelty have looked really, really good at the top of the table.
Yeah, I mean, Kelty are flying, aren't they? As you said, they're one of the unbeaten teams in Scotland. The players that they've got can play at a much, much higher level. They've got, Nathan Austin, who's started, I think he scored 6 or 7 goals so far this season. Joe Cardle scored 3 or 4. JB Bar-Jonas has scored a couple. Callum Higginbotham, all those players could play at a higher level. And I dare say they will be come next season, because Kelty have been so impressive. I think they'll go on and win the league. And as you said, Edinburgh City have had a bit of a resurgence of late. I think they're sitting around mid-table, so they won't make it easy for Kelty. But I'm certainly looking forward to this one, and I do predict a Kelty win, with probably a few Nathan Austin goals as become the norm over the last few weeks.
Yeah, Edinburgh City unbeaten in their last 5, 3 wins and 2 draws. Kelty's looking at their run, 5 wins, 2 draws from their last 7, David. I mean, something's got to give in this game. Could be quite a cracker.
Yeah, the positive thing from a Kelty point of view, first and foremost, is they're not conceding as much goals. I mean, at the start of the season, they were conceding goals and getting exposed quite a lot. I mean, there was a lot of spot kicks that were given away. There was a lot of times when they were getting found out in defensive areas. But they've rectified that. And the thing is that they've taken this league by storm now. I think it's their league to lose now, as far as I'm concerned. And they're still undefeated. And I mean, they're probably in a similar vein to how Queen's Park and Cove Rangers were in the past 2 seasons, just in terms of not only the way they play, but also their consistency in terms of getting results, because they are very much a results-driven team. And that's the good thing about the pyramid system. Again, it's good in terms of getting that consistency in a results basis. It builds on a winning mentality. And that's what Kevin Thompson's done. I mean, Kevin Thompson's in a similar vein to Paul Hartley, because it was situations and predicaments in which both Kelty and Cove lost their managers in the course season due to various factors. I mean, Paul Hartley came out because of John Sheridan's health problems a few years ago, and Kevin Thompson came out because Barry Ferguson went to Alloa, and Kevin Thompson's done a tremendous job at Kelty so far. I mean, the fact that Kelty remain unbeaten is testament to the job he's doing at this precise moment in time. And it's usually in any level of football, but I mean, especially at Scottish League 2 level, you usually have a game or two where you'll go and slip up, but it's about bouncing back from that. But whenever Kelty slipped up or had a mediocre result, I remember a result was Falford and drew 3-3, if I'm not mistaken, and they bounced back from that really well. They got a really good run of wins, and it was actually after that game in question that they started keeping more clean sheets and were a bit more tighter at the back. And they've got a lot of good quality in that team. They've got Jordan Foster, who's been in the books at Hibs and Dundee. Austin's been banging in the goals. But yeah, I think this will be their toughest game so far this season. Edinburgh tomorrow, a resurgent Edinburgh, as you touched upon, and Edinburgh side that have been making Friday nights very positive for themselves and using it to their advantage to go and get the results required. And I mean, Edinburgh City don't exactly attract the biggest accounts just now because of their 500 capacity at Ainslie Park. But what it does allow you is it allows you that ghostly feeling about Edinburgh City that you can just. It probably alleviates any sort of pressure that they get. I mean, Gary Naismith has been there and done it in terms of playing, but he's also been there and done it in terms of management. He's not exactly managed at the top level yet, but he's managed it in the South and East Fife. And then City is a bit of a step down in terms of level, but it's not a step down in terms of professionalism in the club, because he wouldn't have done that job if the club wasn't professional. And there's a lot good right in that club. They've lost James McDonoghue, but there is a lot good about that club just now. And they're looking to bounce back from the predicament that they were in, because it was a bad predicament and they were under a lot of trouble, but they've bounced back and done very well for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2-2 that for Kelty result earlier in the season, but it could be a really interesting game. I mean, one thing that always I think is really interesting about Edinburgh City's home games this season, and I'm going to come to Jake on this, is the fact that some of their games, or I think most of their games this season, are going to be Friday night games. I mean, that's certainly something that the club have looked like they've done going forward as something to try and attract more fans. What do you make of their move?
Yeah, well, I mean, given their geographic location, it's maybe a good way to get some extra fans in. Obviously, Hibs and Hearts play over the weekend, so I know of a few Hearts and Hibs fans that tend to go along and watch Edinburgh City. So yeah, I think it's a good thing to get some more fans in. I think it's a really good thing, and under the lights, everybody loves a game under the lights. So.
Yeah, I mean, David, I think, any kind of opportunity to try and publicise Scottish football and try and get more fans to come into games is surely a positive, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, me and you were at the for Mark Banks' Day game a few weeks back at Everyday the Locals, and it was a good crowd that night, and it was a really good game of football. And I mean, it was that good. I had journalists on to me on the Saturday going, "Where was that park you were at last night?" We looked at a very tremendous park. I was like, I was everyday locals for Aberdeen Chicken Fire. I was like, oh, it looked absolutely brilliant. It tells you that Friday night football is exciting. And it's the same thing in England as well. I mean, whenever you get a Friday night game, you get people definitely wanting to go and tune in and go and watch football. And it's the same here in Scotland. I mean, we've seen junior games down the road in terms of Ayrshire and all that, where you'll have games and people go and watch them and want to, and then they'll report back good things. I mean, I think Darvel in the juniors have been a couple of Friday night games, and there's been a couple of other Avon, if I'm not mistaken, in a Friday night game as well, which attracted a very big crowd. And this is the thing about Friday night games: it's an opportunity to get away from your wives, but it's also an opportunity to get away from the top end or away from any messes in life. So it's an opportunity to go out on a Friday night and watch a game of football, but also it's an opportunity to look at how things are going on and more down the pyramid. Because I mean, a lot of talk is made about things higher up in the pyramid. So it's an opportunity to talk up these clubs and give a positive feedback about the clubs and the lower echelons in the pyramid.
Can I just say, there might be some female people listening into the show that actually go to Friday night games, so I think it would be really good to talk about that. Just want to try and cover our bases there. But, there's some really interesting games again in League Two this weekend, Jake. I mean, there's one game that springs off the page for me. Cowdenbeath at home to Stenhousemuir. That's the bottom two, and Stenhousemuir would have been anticipating a better season than they've had at the moment, but it's not worked out for them so far.
No, it hasn't, and, they've brought in some, on paper, what you would think would be reasonable signings. In the middle, they've got Ross Forbes and that Wedderburn, though, and when you think of those two having played up higher up the league, you think, great, that could be really good for Stenhousemuir, but when it translates onto the football pitch, I hate to say it, is two very slow midfield players, and I just don't think that. I think that's maybe one of the reasons that they're struggling a bit this season in the middle of the park. They're just being overrun continually. I haven't seen them personally, but that's what I've heard. And, on A View from the Terrace, Stenhousemuir fan on there. Telfer, yeah. It seems as though they're being overrun in the middle because, two slow midfield players, and playing Cowdenbeath this weekend, it'll be tough. Is it at Cowdenbeath?
It's at Central Park, yeah. So it's a away game for them.
And it's a tough pitch to play on as well. So yeah, it'll be a slog of a game, that one, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the standout game on the Saturday, David. But, there's a few other interesting games as well. But what's your take on that game first? And is there any other games that catch your eye, personally?
It's a must. That kind of Stenhousemuir games a must-win for either club. And by the way, I've got the cold troops. So Tom Messi, I've noticed your comment there. I've got the cold, my man. So that's why my voice is very much has so much bass about it. So I've certainly not got the voice of an angel, my friend. I can assure you that. But on to the point on Saturday regarding Cowdenbeath against Stenhousemuir, and yeah, it's a massive game for both clubs. And I'm actually surprised in how Cowdenbeath for the start of the season, to be honest, because I've seen Cowdenbeath first hand when they played my old club, Elgin City, and I thought they were really good that day. The likes of Liam Buchanan and Chris Renton were really good going forward, and really gave the Elgin defence a lot of problems that day. Buchanan took his 2 goals really well, and Renton scored a penalty. Renton scored his goal, but Buchanan scored a penalty. And them two linked up really well moving forward. And
Buchanan scored 2 penalties that day.
Yeah, well, 2 was it? Sorry, and Renton did really well as well because he came on scoring as well. They both have a really good partnership. And Gary Ball and Sainz have been known for being physical, but also having a bit of an awareness and a bit of a physique to go and play the game in the right way. And they've not done that so far this season. But another game that sticks out for me, Grant, is Stirling Albion against Stranraer.
Yeah,
we undermine Kevin Rutkowitz at times. I mean, Kevin's done a tremendous job at Stirling Albion. He got the manager of the month deservedly at the start of the month. And they've got a tricky assignment at Stranraer. A Stranraer side that are starting to go pick up results now after a difficult start to the season. And Jamie Hamill needs time to go and work his is one at Stranraer, and once he does that, Stranraer will be doing very well for themselves, and Forfar will be getting to go up, but they understand the difficulty of Kelty and the quality of opposition that they have in Kelty, and they've got a tricky game against Annan. Annan's side that faded away a little bit, but Annan's side that started the season very well, who prior to picking up the recent defeats that they've had, went in a really good run. They've lost the last two. In fact, they've lost 3 of the last 4 against Stirlingmuir, Edinburgh, and Kelty. But prior to that, they were in a fantastic run, because prior to that, they only lost against Forfar, and that was an opening day of the season. So it's an opportunity for Aaron to get a bit of revenge, but it's also an opportunity for Forfar to clear away from Annan. Get above Annan. Because it's Forfar against Ferdinand in that game, and if Forfar can go and pick up a result, it'll be a really good result indeed. And if I'm being honest, as long as the Annan bubble doesn't start to burst, I'm probably looking at that for Kelty, Stirling, Annan, and Forfar, and saying that'll probably be a top 4, unless Edinburgh can have a late resurge. And Elgin have been known for having a late resurge in terms of getting some late results. And Elgin's recruited really well. They've got Ross Draper and Tom Gravosti and Jamie Wilson and other players. They've recruited really well in terms of the loan market, but they need to marry that positivity in terms of recruitment into results in the park now.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, we're coming into the last 4 minutes of the show. So I want you to pick one team from the Championship, one team from League One, and one team from League Two that you think is going to win this weekend. You can pick any of the 5 games that we have talked about in breadth or even at depth as we've done. So, David, I'm going to come to you because you were talking there last, so I'm going to come back to you on this. Pick your winner from the Championship that you think will win this weekend. Pick one team.
Okay, good question. I better go just so I'm not speaking rubbish. I will go for. I
just want a name.
I'll go for Inverness to beat Morton.
Jake?
Kilmarnock to beat Dunfermline.
You're going for Kilmarnock to beat Dunfermline. Oh, I thought you might go for your team. I am going to go for Ayr to beat Queen of the South, so I'm going to pick that one. Let's move into League One. Jake, we'll come to you first for this one.
I'm just doing the same as David, so I'm not also talking rubbish. Bear with me a wee second.
Okay, then while you're looking, then I will plump in first. I am going to go for a bit of a surprise. I'm going for Peterhead to win at Alloa.
So I will go for Queen's Park to beat Dumbarton.
Ooh, okay. Interesting on that.
And Cove Rangers for me.
And you're going for Cove Rangers. We've actually gone for 3 away wins, which is quite interesting. People who are tuning in, put us your comments, and I'm sure David will have a little bit of a look at to see what people are thinking. Let's talk about League Two. What are we going for here? David, I'll come to you on this one first.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Stirling to beat Stranraer.
Jake?
Kelty to beat Edinburgh.
I'm going to go for another away win. I'm going to go for Annan to win at Forfar. So that's my thoughts on that. I mean, gents, it's good to have domestic football back, isn't it? I mean, it's been great, the international break. Scotland have had the 2 wins, but you can't beat club football week in, week out now and again, can you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's brilliant to be back. And I mean, since you've been a great partner of the Premiership League, Championship League 1 and League 2, although I'm pretty sure if you ask Rangers Football Club that, I don't think they'll appreciate the comment I've just said there. But back on the original point, and it's good to get club football. I mean, club football is a different kettle of fish, a different animal in international football. International football is a one-off occurrence. Well, it's becoming a regular occurrence now because you're seeing more games. But in terms of club football, it's the bread and butter of any Scottish football fan's season. And win, lose or draw, it's about enjoying your Saturdays. And here's hoping all the fans of Scottish football can enjoy their weekend this weekend.
Yeah, Jake, last word to you on your debut. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. I think you've been really great addition to the state of Scottish football. Last word to you. What do you make of club football being back?
Well, yeah, I'm excited to get back and see Dunfermline hopefully pull off a win. I know I predicted a Kilmarnock win, but you never know. Yeah, club football is always, for me, trumped international football, although we've been served up a bit of a treat recently on the international stage, if you could call it that. Maybe not performance-wise, but results-wise. But yeah, club football for me is just, as David says, the bread and butter. I'm looking forward to getting back.
Absolutely. And Colin Watt will give you his thoughts on the Premiership matches tomorrow night on Friday, 6 to 7, where I'm sure he'll be joined by guests to talk about the major matches in the Scottish Premiership. I have been Dr. Grant Campbell. This has been another episode of the State of Scottish Football, presented by A State of Mind. As remember, we are sponsored by Etiv Watches. Go and check out the fabulous content that they have. It's been really great to have the guys on the show. David, Jake, thanks very much. Thanks to everybody who has tuned in. Put your comments in tonight as well. That's it from us. We'll be back tomorrow night from 6 o'clock. Until next time, it's goodbye.